One of the best things that a person can do is to do nothing. Take a half hour a day. Turn off the telly. Sit in a quiet room. Do nothing. You think that's easy? But when you know how to do it, it's like the best vacation in the world. You sink into your body. Which means the rest of the world more or less disappears. It's there, but it's not primary. And you close your eyes or keep them open and do nothing. Watch a blank screen. Look at a colored wall in your bedroom. Whatever. Just don't do anything. Your mind will fight you like hell. It'll keep reminding you of things you have to do that day or you didn't do yesterday. That's what the mind wants to do, is give you information. But you don't need it. A lot of times you don't need it. But you really do need it. When your mind stops, you've trained it. Just watch everything going on inside of you, inside your body, inside your mind. It's really easy then to come to a complete rest. Or like Eddie, go on a trip. And when you come to this rest of meditation, the suction power it has to keep you in silence after you've obtained it is strong because it feels so divine. To be doing nothing after you've learned how to appreciate it instead of doing something. In doing nothing, you get to know the rest state of both body and mind. And that rest state is really divine. It's hard to imagine this when you first try to meditate. Because you have so many things to do. But doing nothing is really a wonderful change. Is when you're doing nothing, what you feel is you. You're not dealing with a dozen other people in constant conversation. You're just being you. You feel the heaviness of your body. What you notice within that heaviness is a great deal of power. It's like at a certain point of silent meditation, you can feel this immense power from within. And you always have access to this power. But usually, you don't want to even try because you think it's a waste of time just to sit still and do nothing. What are you getting accomplished? But all of us, as we submerge our consciousness and the attention within consciousness to the experience of ourselves in silence, it seems like we find a great power within us. A power that feels like it can do anything. But it's really just the power of feeling one's own existence without words. Just shut the fuck up. Go within and be yourself. Here, there's nowhere to go, nothing to do. It's a course on how to just be. Some words may go through your mind, but basically there's the power of silence. It doesn't want you to do that. And when you don't do that, and just remain in silence with yourself, you first learn how powerful your life force really is. You won't discover that the first dozen times you practice silence or meditation. It comes after years. Some days you wake up and you find yourself peaceful, not wanting to do anything. You're beginning to learn how to make that transition from being a doer to being a beer. Just rest in your own beingness because it's so delightful. Yes, Eddie, just rest in your beingness. Rest while you're walking. Relax, Eddie. Don't do anything. You would not believe it, what it can do for you, the silence. Transforms you from being a nervous wreck, bouncing off the walls with all the things you have to do, to being somebody who's rested, immersed in himself. You descend into your own sense of beingness. Just feel yourself. And after years, you discover that the power within. You feel like you could wrestle a grizzly bear and easily defeat him or her. It's an amazing feeling. Resting in yourself. When you discover how to do it, the last thing you want to do is move away from it. You feel that, Mark?
Yeah, I do. And I agree.
What's it like for you?
It's like switching to another channel, to like the prime channel that's running everything. It feels great. And I just want to stay. I usually just want to stay in it. I could stay in it for hours sometimes. And it's very healing, very welcoming. It just feels so much better than doing anything else a lot of the time. So, but it's not, even when I'm not doing it, it tends to be there, but just at a lower activity level, it just tends to be running in the background.
Yes, after a while, it becomes a conscious background of peace. When everybody around you seems so utterly wrapped up in their own world of doing, attaining, achieving. But you, it's like you're elevated to Olympus and have Olympus's power within you. It's like you feel you can do anything or be anything. Because you're resting right at the center of your own beingness, which is the life force at rest. And you're actually feeling what it's like, the life force at rest, rather than observing what your body's doing or what your mind wants to do. And instead doing nothing. And when you do nothing, it's like you leave this dimension and you go to another. And this other feels like you're grabbed by a 1,000-pound bear. Who doesn't want you to move. And it gets that power because when you get into this state, it's the most delicious sense of peace, rest, and depth. It's like you're swimming at the bottom of the ocean. You've sunk all the way down to the core. You are the life force of the zero state. Vibrating with immense power. Far more immense than can be possibly existing within your frail body. But you're no longer limited by the body anymore. And what you're doing is entering the power of consciousness. Consciousness just waiting. Not intensely, just like an athlete before the starter gun starts. It's very different. Because in this state, your body really doesn't want to move. Disturb its peace, its sense of power and completeness. You had no idea you had this much power within you. But when you stop everything and just look and feel within, it feels like the power of the universe has descended into you. It's the power of silence, of not doing, of just pure being and immersion in your own beingness. Busan is calling. I never, ever thought I would live in Arizona. Too fucking hot. But if you have good air conditioning, it's not bad. You can't go anywhere. Like it's supposed to be 118 today. We've already had 318 days in the last 10 days and 20 days over 110. That'll certainly drive your attention deep into yourself. Feeling of being in yourself and your beingness is of no longer being sentient flesh with its strengths and limitations. But instead, having descended into the origin place in zero state of a dynamo, life energy within yourself. And rather putting that energy to use doing something, it expands our beingness, our sense of wholeness, our sense of attainment. And rather than do something new, get something to eat or watch television. I get a chance to be with myself in silence. And the power rises through me, permeates my body, my mind. Maybe another person would use different words to describe it. But by power, I mean a sense of infinite strength within, which we all often equate with a body. And obviously, no limited body can be infinitely strong. But it feels like I know everything. I am everything. I have no limits. I have no boundary. I am that power within, that power of the life force, the power of the life force at rest within itself. And this is how we really come to know the life force, by being immersed in it within our bodies and around our bodies, everywhere. A sense of power at rest, maybe a sleeping giant of immense proportions. And you say to yourself, so this is what absolute peace feels like. Total rest in one's own self. Feeling one's own self. That's infinite strength, infinite power. You feel the totality of all the energies and faculties that you have as a human being is held in stillness, waiting for your informed usage. But when you walk around in that locker room of your deepest and most primitive self, what you're most aware of, besides the peace, is the power that's buried within that peace. You feel like you could lift 1,000 pounds, 10,000 pounds, because the world, seen from the inner side, is very welcoming. And you're sort of immersed in it by dropping down inside of yourself. You close your eyes and you can fall backwards into yourself, like yourself is projecting out from this central mass. And you can turn your attention backwards into the central mass instead of the world around you. And what you feel is power. When you're sitting in this, there's no desire to move, only to stop and to be, and to feel that beingness. You don't want to lift your hand. You don't want to move an inch, because you're already perfect. Never felt better in your life. The body is bristling with energy. You're feeling the energy of the life force with the intelligence of the life force. You're not separated from it. You're on the ground floor with it, or even deeper, buried into the self. You know, I don't know why teachers don't tell you by describing what it's like to be immersed in the life force. Instead, they talk about it in theoretical terms, but not the immensity of the feeling of having arrived deep within yourself and being yourself with nowhere to go and nothing to do. The unlimited power is now resting in you. And you feel it. You're awed by it. You don't want to awaken from the state of being collapsed into yourself. You just want it to go on and on and on. Prior to this stage, it's the 3 or 4 or 5 year stage of feeling energies in and around the body everywhere. When you finally feel all of these energies within, former acts associated with that power and that meditation disappear. Leading only to the deepest rest you've ever known. And you may have images flow through you of symbols of immense power. But it's the brain trying to capture what's happening to it. The brain is not, your awareness is usually not aware. of the power at this level of your stilled beingness. No amount of talking can convey what it's like. One analogy would be of being like a sleeping giant of unlimited strength, who's doing nothing. And by doing nothing, becomes an object of consciousness, and a very seductive object, because it pulls you to very deep levels of yourself. And you don't want to leave. You just want to go deeper. And you hold this state for a while until you either fall asleep or something external gets you out of this state. I don't think I've heard any other teacher that talks about what it's like to sink deeply into yourself and to put into words that penultimate sense of power and of being well that the silence brings. You're at the resting place of the whole universe, because that whole universe flows from you and your consciousness, your body. This is how one can come to the conclusion that your own self is God. Your own self is complete silence and rest, feeling the volcano of power within you as restrained energy. That's restrained only by how good it feels not to move. And that's what it's like. Settling down into yourself. When you settle down, it's not like going to work in the morning. It's more like going to sleep. Into an endless dream bubbling energy that's just sitting there. Sit in silence and feel your body, especially your back, your chest, your abdomen, and what it's like to rest in your own body, your own energies, your own living space. Go within and go downwards. When your mind isn't bothering you anymore with the constant internal conversation. What can you feel? You can feel everything afresh for the first time in an entirely different way. You've become an energy body. And you can go deeper than this state. Into the bliss of your awareness. Without form or object. Just immensely rest in yourself. Try it, you might like it. Just sit quietly in a room. Lean back, resting your body against whatever you're sitting on. Are there any questions or statements? Des, do you feel it?
Me? Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Oh. Yeah. Yeah. I felt it before the satsang. Can I read a paragraph I wrote before satsang today?
Sure.
It's easier to read it. I'm writing this before satsang today. I already feel the deeper pull into beingness. I relax into a place of stillness, and my perception kind of changes. Everything seems to be inside of me or inside of my awareness. My body is there, my mind is there, and all other objects and happenings. Everything affects me. It all feels like it is sort of movement inside me, and it feels pleasant. It's not exactly inside me either, but I don't know how to say it. My body isn't really a body either. It is sort of a receptive field of energy that accepts sense data. I first experienced this one day at satsang and was amazed that there was no body present, or rather the appearance and idea I normally have of the body was completely unnecessary. I couldn't even put it into words at first. I just remember feeling that something different is happening. I was so filled with joyous energy the rest of the day. That's all I wrote, but I don't know.
That's perfect. What about your sleeping roommate?
I don't know about you.
I may have drifted into sleep.
Yeah, you snore a little.
What I remember though is I heard I felt really nothing except your voice. And I could hear it, but then it would be gone. The state would change. And I wouldn't I remember hearing your voice, but I couldn't remember what you said. Maybe I was asleep and hearing you was a dream. I don't know.
What did you feel?
Just nothing really. It wasn't calm, it wasn't pleasant, it wasn't unpleasant. It was just nothing in your voice. That's what I felt.
You're no fun.
Sorry.
What about you? I'm leaving that open. What about you? What about you, Ian?
Incredible, Ed. All the way through your meditation, you guided me through different versions of my reality. I felt so much that I was simply, I wasn't matter. I was energy only, cascading, flowing, more like water than anything else, and changing form. And when you talked about the infinite, I was able to go to the infinite. And when you talked about the 0 point, I was able to go to the 0 point. I'm feeling it now. I'm feeling very beautiful energy in my body. The mind was saying, oh, you've got to remember this. And then you would say something else and I'd forget it all about that idea. And it was, it's just, and most incredible meditation. Thank you so much.
I noticed your posture, your head. I could see the depths to which you were going.
There's a kind of an idea that comes up that this is really important and I should hold on to it. And then that just gets shattered. It just falls apart. It's the special effects department comes in and splatters it against the wall of the universe, this holding on thing.
Because it doesn't want you to keep that limited notion of yourself as being the truth. The truth is, you become something else. Unlimited power and strength. Complete rest. What you feel is your own enormous potential energy. What you feel, Jeff?
Well, I guess I think I'm a little bit of everybody. I know exactly what Ian was saying. That was identical. How I was actually quite amazed how identical that part was. Oh yeah, this is great. Remember this one. This is important, exactly. And then all of a sudden it's just gone and you don't even really care, but you notice it. I was a little bit of Chris because I'm running on less than 3 hours of sleep, so I couldn't go too deep, otherwise I'm just going to fall asleep. But then, just like Bernadette this morning, as I'm driving to work before that song, it was just this magical sort of fairy tale world that you can't really describe it. It's like this ultimate peace, bliss, joy. You're laughing to tears for no particular reason at all. And you feel a little bit like maybe you should seek help or something, And, yeah. I think that about covers it. But now that I'm like very tired after work, it's like, okay, now the body just wants to sleep. But it's crazy. I was going to ask you, or maybe everybody, does anybody else now when you look at yourself in the mirror or even on the camera, it's not the same anymore when you see your face and stuff. It actually seems more like a foreign object than it once did. If that makes sense.
I'll tell you, for me, nothing makes sense anymore. And that's the whole truth. That everything you knew and experienced before was bullshit. It's just a play you were absorbed in. You were in the world of man with all of the different things and rules you've learned about behavior and being. It gives you a sense of comfort to know you're at home. But there's more than just being at home for you. Meditation bends those bonds of familiarity. You see that most of them are just mental things with no strength or power, except to turn us into subjects, weak subjects. Rather than being at the center of everything. Just think of it. Each of you is at the center of your own world. And I'm merely a visitor. So are you. So I accept this as your ultimate. And for a long while, what you experience will leave you perplexed as to what's real. What you find in meditation, or what you find when you wake up your eyes in the morning, and you find out you have to go to work. I used to dread the sound of the alarm clock in the morning, knowing what it entailed for the rest of the day. And I always got up 5 minutes before the alarm went off, turned the clock off. Because that buzzer, that alarm, was almost feeling destructive of my soul. Because it took me out of myself and put me into that goddamn limited world. Okay. Try this as often as possible. You can do it with some light music. You can do it together as a small group or a couple or by yourself. But always you leave the world behind and find a different world altogether, of feeling and decreased understanding. You won't know what's going on. Just like now for most of you. But you know what the world is supposed to be like, so you just say, yeah, that's it. I'm ignoring all those things that seem contrary to the world of my past and imagination. What you are is without measure, without words that can be put to it, because the words are of this world.
Shut up, Ed. You're talking too much.
What?
You're talking too much, Ed.
Oh, okay. I like talking though, Michael. Put you to sleep. Thanks for the reminder.
Your voice is actually rather soothing.
So Michael doesn't like to be soothed. I love you all. Now, descend into yourself for another 15 minutes before you break off from that world of formlessness and rejoin the world of ordinary humanity, all of which seem to suffer from being limited. Bye.